So you want to start screen printing. Whether you're cricketing or heat transferring, you realize that screen printing is a fast and affordable way to decorate a lot of t-shirts. But before you start getting ink on that squeegee, you got to pick a press. Today we're picking 3 of the most popular presses to start with and going over 4 ways to evaluate them so you can make the right choice as you start. Okay, right here I got the Pigskin Pigtails starter press, the Riley 150, and the Amazon Delight. We're going to cover how easy they are to assemble, how quick they set up and register and print a 2-color job, how well they port around, and the price and cost effectiveness of each. Okay, we're gonna start with setup. And for that, I'm here with Heather Jones, who runs classes and trade shows here at Ryonet. You kind of walk me through that Pigskins press.
Well, first off, it's well packaged. Everything was right there, easy to just organize on the table.
This press is a pretty compact press, pretty easy to put together, not a ton of assembly required.
Well, I think I have a bit of a disadvantage because of being in assembly for so long. I did not follow the instructions.
Well, were there instructions, first of all?
There were instructions.
It's not too complicated, so if you know how to handle some wrenches and screwdrivers, you can do this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what are the tools we need to put this together?
2 9/16, 2 1/2-inch wrenches, and a Phillips screwdriver.
Power screwdriver?
Oh, it would help, not necessary.
What would you say the most difficult part of putting this press together, minus following the directions?
Probably the base legs, those little tiny screws.
So how long did that take from start to finish?
I think the Pigskin took about 36 minutes.
Now let's move to my favorite press, the Riley Hopkins 150. Ooh, I shouldn't say that. You have experience putting these together though, so this is a little bit of an unfair advantage.
Actually, this is one press I've never put together. So the box, again, very nicely packaged. Everything was organized. All of the hardware kits are labeled.
Did you follow the instructions this time?
No.
Again.
And I think that the reason why I didn't follow the manual is just because it was in a different order that I would normally put together on a bigger press.
All right, lessons not learned, but what tools do we need to put this together?
So that's going to be the same as the Pigskin press. 2 9/16 wrenches, 2 1/2-inch wrenches, a Phillips screwdriver, and a tape measure.
All right, this is a little bit more complex to put together because you're putting together those 4 heads. What were some of the more difficult parts putting this together?
Probably the trickiest part on these presses are going to be your off contacts, just because they get a little bit confusing of which is your right, which is your left, and then putting the bracket on your Platen. That's where your tape measure is going to be. It's 3 inches up center, just making sure that things are square on that part.
When it's all said and done, how long did it take to put this press together?
An hour, 9 minutes or so.
Not too bad for a 4-color press. Good job. Yeah. All right, the next press is that Amazon press that you go to and buy Prime, shows up at your door the next day.
Again, it was beautifully packed. When I first pulled it out, you could definitely tell it was made out of lighter material.
All right, did you follow the instructions on this one?
Well, there were no instructions.
So you had to use your engineering prowess to...
I was going to. My first thought was like, screw it. I'll just figure it out myself. And then as I started getting some of the parts out and everything, I decided that that might not be a great idea. So we went online and got the instructions.
So what tools do you need to put this one together?
One nice thing about this kit is it did come with all of the tools that you need.
Like an IKEA box.
So I would suggest using a little bit better tools.
Yeah, more professional grade, bigger grips, like ratcheting wrenches if possible. All right, tell me a little bit about the struggles putting this together or the things you found easy.
I feel like it was pretty easy putting it together. It was a little bit confusing just knowing exactly how it all fit. My biggest concern with the Amazon press is going to be the springs, just having enough tension to be able to hold up larger screens. And then the print arm is actually 2 pieces. So I'm a little bit concerned about the stability and integrity on that part of the press.
When it's all said and done, how long did it take?
About an hour and a half.
Interesting that it's about a half an hour between each press. We have the Pigskin press, pretty simple, easy to put together, around a half an hour. Then the Riley 150, a little bit more complex to put together, and hour-ish, and then an hour and a half to put the Amazon press together. Okay, we're gonna print the same 2-color job on every press, starting with the Pigskin starter press. Now, you always start with the smallest of the 2 colors, and I also always recommend putting a center line down your Platen so that you can easily set up the first screen and center it out. Now, this is a little bit smaller Platen, but just the right size for this screen. First of all, we'll check for off contact. That's the distance between your mesh and your Platen, allowing that ink to release onto the shirt. Start by putting a little bit of adhesive on this Platen so that our shirt sticks to it and stays in registration. Now we want to measure our distance, typically 3 fingers or 3 inches down. So we have the top of our design right there. So I'm gonna pull the collar a little bit off in order for that to lay perfectly. The last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape up our registration marks. so that we don't get that super friendly water-based ink coming through the screen. And then we'll do our first print. Just a couple passes there. I'm gonna leave the screen flooded. All right, that looks great. Now with that Pigskins press, you actually have to remove the screen and then come back and print that second color by exchanging the screen out with the clamp. Take my second color and get this registered up. Again, we're aligning those registration marks. Check for off contact, that's good off contact. Tape up our reg marks. And then we're gonna put our water-based black down. Water-based is great for beginners because it's easy to print. You can see how creamy this ink is. Goes through the screen mesh really, really well and cleans up with water. Typically do 2 passes and then leave that screen flooded. All right, there's our 2-color print. Pull that off. Now, we gotta do that all over again. We'll run that through the dryer. And obviously, if you're just starting out, there's a lot of different ways to cure a shirt. You can use that Cricut heat press. You can use a heat gun. You can even use an oven. You can use a flash dryer so that it sets and dries. All right, there it is. 2-color print using the Pigskins press. This press is nice and compact. A little difficult to swap those 2 screens out. Pretty cool that we can still do 2 colors. Next up, the Riley 150. We're gonna essentially register it the same exact way using our center lines to that center line of the Platen. Now, if it's the first time printing on a press, typically have to mess with the off contact and lower that to make sure we have a level distance between the Platen and the screen. Now, if you notice, this is a little bit different type of Platen adhesive. This is actually called print gel, very similar to print grip, but there's no adhesive needed because it comes as a part of the pad. Nice part about the Riley Hopkins press is that you can do 2 colors at a time. And once you're registered, it stays in registration. All right, there's our 2-color print. Now let's do another one. So we want to take into note how well they lock into place. So are we getting any type of shift? Is the press durable and sturdy while we're printing? Do our first color and then immediately lay down the second color there. Once we're in register, we're going to be registered throughout the print run. Nice. So we've done the Pigskins, the Riley Hopkins, and now off to the Amazon Delight. Okay, with the Amazon press, again, this is a little bit bigger Platen. It might be a little bit difficult with smaller shirts, but it's nice it comes with these center lines already in it. So I just drew right over it and put some Platen paper down to protect the Platen and make it a little bit easier to clean. And then just like the Riley Hopkins press, we need to adjust for that off contact. So line to the top and bottom. Center lines were locked in and it looks like we got decent off contact there. You can notice that these springs are not tight enough to hold the screen up. So we're gonna have to go ahead and tighten them up. You gotta get these pretty tight in order to keep this screen with the squeegee up. I'd be concerned over time just with that, just kind of maybe put some mesh over it to protect any type of spring break in the future that could potentially hurt. Okay, it looks like we got some pretty good tension there. Definitely a lot looser than the Riley. Okay, I gotta tighten this off contact down. Let's get some adhesive down. You can see that this press compared to the other 2 presses has a lot more Platen deflection. And that Platen deflection could cause issues as you're printing over time. Let's see how loading this larger Platen goes. Not too bad. This is a medium-sized shirt, so your average size shirt. This is an 18-inch Platen. We're gonna wanna bring that neckline down a lot more on this print. And then I'll just draw a Sharpie mark to know where I put the next shirt at. All right, let's do our first color. And then we'll align that second color. One key note here is that since these are entry-level presses, none of these presses have micro-registration. For that, you would definitely want to go up to like a Riley Hopkins 250 line, and that allows us to make these types of micro adjustments without having to loosen the spring and makes 2-color printing a lot easier. I don't think the center of that Platen is the center of that Platen. Little bit of off registration here, a little bit of blurring. Let's see if that happens on our second color print. Oh, what happened here? Oh, these clamps, we lost registration here. It looks like it's very important to keep that screen all the way in the back. I basically just pulled it up and it came out. So we lost all of our registration. So we'll go ahead and reset this up, lock it down into place. So you gotta make sure the screen is pushed all the way back, which gives you less room for error in multiple color registration. So your screens need to be burned much more exact. You don't have as much leeway back and forth like you do on the Riley or the Pigskin press. We're a little loose in the gate, which is gonna give us problems for that multiple color registration. Okay, there we go. That looks a lot better. Maybe a little bit lower on the shirt. This bigger Platen's definitely harder to get shirts on and off of than, especially the 14-inch one. That makes it real easy. But makes it a little bit easier to line up. Nice and bright. After setting up and printing a 2-color job on each, the multiple screen presses are definitely easier because those screens stay locked in place and keep registration for the most part. You can definitely tell that the Pigskins and the Riley 150 have more durable and sturdier screen clamps as well as bases when it comes to like platen deflection and stability of the press overall. One final note is the platen size. You got a 14-inch platen here, 16-inch platen here, and an 18-inch platen over here. If you plan on printing a lot of different sizes of shirts, that 14-inch platen is probably gonna be your most versatile and easiest to learn on. That one's a nice middle of the road, and the big one is, well, great for big shirts, but gonna be pretty much impossible for your small shirts. And then portability, well, the Pigskin definitely takes the cake. I mean, I've even put this press in a suitcase before and taken it on an airplane. And then finally, price. While the Amazon and the Pigskins are lower cost, the Riley 150 is definitely the most expensive. It's gonna be the easiest to set up and hold the best registration over time if you plan on printing a lot of t-shirts and especially if you plan on printing multiple colors. And there you have it. If you're thinking about getting into screen printing, hopefully now you know a little bit more about your press options as you're starting out. If you want to learn a little bit more about the process of screen printing, we have free educational resources on screenprinting.com, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great screen printing content. Thank you for powering the print with Ryonet, and good luck on your screen printing journey.